Hello, Earthlings. Welcome to RGN, the Regular Guy News. Whew. Oh, my God. This is it, baby. And by it, I don't know what I'm talking about. Welcome to RGN, the Regular Guy News, the least pretentious name in news. I am your host. I am your anchor, Dan Black Attack, baby. I now legally changed my name to my Instagram handle. I am in the future. Many would say I'm ahead of the curve, but some of those people would be right. Some would be wrong. A lot of people are talking. All right, let's get into it. If you're new to Regular Guy News, let me tell you, this is a podcast where we discuss the news as news junkies who admit that there's we don't get it all. I feel like there's a lot in the unsaid places. So we are truth seekers looking for actual factual information in the world of mis and disinformation. Okay, I think I just figured out the thesis of this podcast right now. So you heard it. But if you're listening to this podcast, thank you. We are now deemed. I just got the word. We've been deemed an essential service. We're an essential workers because we are debunking bullshit and doing our best. Thank you for listening. Also, this podcast is Grassroots. This is a relatively new podcast, and we are Grassroots. And word of mouth, spread the word. Tell people, your friends. They want to hear a fun news pod where we're trying to just get the truth. Tell them about it. Also, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and help us spread the word. All right. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about today. This is a huge day. We're recording this on Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, which is I can't even believe it is January 5th, 2021. This is the day of the Georgia runoff election. We have a lot to say about that, but before we do, let's go out to the field and introduce our only RGN correspondent, the truth seeker, Erin Finnerty. Erin, are you out there, Erin? Oh, let's see if we can get her. Erin, hello, Erin.
Dan.
We got you. All right,
Dan,
good.
hello.
Erin, how are you?
I'm doing fine today, Dan. Thank you.
Where are you reporting from today? You're out in the field, I see.
Yes, Dan, I'm coming to you live from Georgia. The nation of Georgia.
Erin, why are you? I was wondering where you are because I saw a preview of your shot in a very, very high-tech technology here.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the nation of Georgia. Was this some kind of misunderstanding? I see those rolling hills there, beautiful historic monuments, old kind of almost what I would call Italian architecture, and I'm like, where is she? Is she in Atlanta? That's not what the Atlanta I know looks like. Are you in Marvel Studios, Atlanta? I don't know. But you went to why are you in Georgia, the country?
Well, I'm in Eurasia, the Georgia that's in Eurasia, not the Georgia. There was a bit of a snafu at our travel agent's office, and I wound up here in Tbilisi,
Erin,
Georgia.
you're still using a travel agent?
Well, yeah. Who books their own travel?
Oh, my God. Erin,
How do you think I get to all these exotic locations every week?
I don't know. Priceline?
Phyllis.
Kayak? You don't use kayak?
Mm-mm. I got a lady named Phyllis. She books
Wow.
all these trips for us.
That's
how we get such good deals for the network.
Can I tell you something, though, Erin?
But,
I know you use a travel agent, which is interesting. I do find it interesting when I hear, like, someone is still a profession that I don't think exists anymore.
Ooh.
And it happens more often than you'd think. Like someone will be like, I'll be like, what do you do for a living? And they'll be like, I sell like light fixtures, you know?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then I'll be like, yo, people definitely do need light fixtures.
True.
But you just kind of feel like in today's day and age, this stuff's done through some kind of like easy process that wouldn't involve a middleman, you know?
Right.
You know what I mean? But then these things still exist, you know?
And then like there's also a lot of like hipsters who do like antiquated jobs, like, oh, I'm a blacksmith in Portland, or a haberdasher.
What's a haberdasher?
I think they make hats.
Oh, okay. All right, beautiful. Well, Erin, I mean,
Well, here
I'm
I
glad
am.
that
It's
we're able to
the
connect with you in
Georgia
this.
runoff
No
election, and
delay.
here I am in
Yeah,
Georgia.
well, I mean, yeah. Do you have anything to report about Georgia, the country? Is there a runoff happening there, or any kind of
I mean, there's a
election? Or
little bit of runoff from this body of water you see
yeah,
behind me,
yeah.
but I mean, no like elections or anything.
All
Seems
right, Erin.
pretty chill here.
Yeah, so I would say so
So
far off to a
here I
rough
am.
start from you, but
Yeah.
I'll that's okay. I'll say this though, folks. Uh, let's start. We got a lot to cover today. Many would say
Yeah.
too much. Let's start in the realm of my COVID. I always think,
Oh,
well,
yes.
this podcast, me having COVID couldn't be more on brand for this podcast because,
Yeah.
and but for the new listeners, I was diagnosed with COVID about 3 weeks ago. Um, I've been walking you through what the process is as someone who has COVID in Los
As a
Angeles
regular
right now.
guy, a
Yeah.
regular guy with COVID.
So, like any kind of disinformation, I can debunk by someone who's actually dealing with it.
Yeah.
And like I said from last week, having COVID in today's society, I mean, not that there's any other society that had it, but having COVID-19 is very confusing. And I have a new, and I talked a lot about the elements that are confusing in the past couple weeks, from testing to
Contagiousness.
to. Oh, sorry, messed up my cord there. From testing to
How contagious you are.
yeah, to like how contagious you are, to like what are there any kind of treatments, or are there none?
Right.
When you should go to the hospital, when not. Anyway, we'll get into I've talked a lot about it, but today I want to discuss something that's really interesting. So, I had an incident. Okay, Erin, let me tell you about my incident.
Oh, an
Okay?
incident.
I think I might have told you this already, but the listeners haven't heard this, and we'll talk.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I am way out of the contagious zone of COVID.
Yeah.
Now, I still have the symptom of a lingering cough, which you might hear at some point, but it's actually at this point very mild. I'm very, very lucky. No taste issues,
That's
and
good.
not a lot of the stuff. I don't feel like I have any fog or any stuff people are talking about, except for my normal fog of being just kind of a mediocre white dude. So
Right.
anyway,
You can't escape that fog.
can't escape that. You can't escape that. People are talking, but so I yeah, people are talking about people, which is an obligatory thing you have to say on this podcast.
Yeah. Well,
Should I get the sound drop where it goes bam 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 bam?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Let's
then if
play
I
the
don't
whole
play
song.
it, you're gonna make you. All right. So so okay. So here's the thing about it. I'm not contagious with COVID. I know for a fact. I'm already a week out of when they say you're not contagious. So according to the CDC, 10 days after your first sign of symptoms, you're not contagious anymore. Now, you
Okay.
could still have symptoms, meaning you could still cough. You could still have like taste issues but you're not shedding the virus anymore. The virus is
Right.
dead in your body, right?
Okay.
But I've been extra careful about it. So even after a week, and I talked to my doctor who approved me to be walking my dogs. He's like, you're not contagious. He's like, this virus is very strange, so let's get you a test, but you're not contagious, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I
it's
went
been
and
long
I got
enough.
tested. Right. So I'm walking my dog, bump into a friend who I know who just had a baby, you know?
Yeah.
And so then that's an interesting zone, right? My friend
This is
who
like
I
entering the
also know,
social conundrum of COVID.
and I also know he has a health condition. I'm not going to say his name or anything, but my point is that I know he's been the reason I say that is that he's been very careful during this time.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
was like, hey, Dan. And I was like, yo, dude, I've been sick, so let's just stay far apart. And then he fucking jetted away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was
Like
like,
you
yo, I'm
were
going to go.
like,
He was totally respectful, and I was telling him to do this. I had no problem with what he did.
yeah.
But boy, oh boy, did that feel like shit.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Does it feel like shit to have people who are excited to see you, scared of you all of a sudden on the
Like,
drop of a dime?
don't wanna
And I have
see you.
no shame to him. As a matter of fact, he and I have been texting, and he
Good.
was like, thank you for telling me. And he was like, I'm glad you're doing well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And,
mean,
and
in the end, it felt bad for you, but I'm sure he was grateful.
right, and I was like, I'm sorry for freaking you out.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, so it's like,
Were
listen,
you like when you crossed paths, were you like on the same side of the sidewalk,
yeah.
like would have passed each other? Did he like take off across the street or?
Ah, no, no. He was like kind of already close to in front of his house because he lives
Mm,
close to me, and
mm-hmm.
then he just like it actually he would have been going that way anyway. So we went what our natural paths be if we weren't going to talk, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But I've been purposely walking very far away from people also, and all
yeah.
I do when I leave my house is just for the dogs. But again, I'm not contagious. I'm way past the point of being contagious. You know what I mean? I'm
Mm-hmm.
just being careful. Um, so, um, I also went to go get a test though, because like you want if we want to be extra okay, so that felt like shit. Now the
Yeah.
other thing is that I saw some people posting some stuff. I've seen a new thing talking about like COVID shaming, and my point to all COVID shaming is like, that's not a thing. Shut up. Like it's
Right.
like you know what I mean. Like yo, you get let's all like if you can't handle that, like that moment I had sucked. So I know what they mean, but
Right.
like if you can't handle people, like people are naturally gonna be scared of this virus right now. It's fucking weird. Like it's all
Of
good.
course,
Like shit is
especially
weird.
here.
Shit is fucking weird. Like let's like it's all good. Put your just constantly. All you have to do in life is like put yourself in somebody else's shoes. If my friend bumped into me, he's got a newborn kid. You fucking you understand why he's like, why am I gonna be not be this? Why am I gonna like risk? What do I gain from this convo? Like just being
Right,
polite, like
right,
we'll
right.
talk over text. There's a million other ways to talk,
Of course, and like even especially right now, like it would be advisable to not have a super close proximity
Right.
conversation, even if you hadn't been sick, like this is just the way of the world right now.
Right. So anyway, okay. Here's the next thing. So I wanted to get my test just to get the negative, even though I know I'm not contagious anymore. Right.
Right.
Okay. So made an appointment at Dodger Stadium, 11
Mm.
a.m. appointment. Drive to the test. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, it's always like super fucking sci-fi when you're getting tested at Dodger Stadium.
I haven't
Like
done it, so
it's
I
like
don't know what the
because you
experience
drive
is
through the
like.
parking lot of Dodger Stadium just like you're going to the game, and like it
Uh-huh.
is true like War of the Worlds. Like you go up to like the stands where you like pay for parking.
Yeah, yeah.
Those are used now to hand you tests. Like they're in there
Oh.
with an arm, like like a
Like the
pooper
little like
scooper, but
yeah, uh-huh.
and they hand it through your window in like what is supposed to be where they're like, "Hey, great day for a game, kid."
Right, right, right.
You know what I mean? Like where you normally be like being like, "Can't believe it! The tickets are $100 plus $40 for
For
parking."
parking. Yeah, Dad, I know.
Right. Uh, give some props, by the way, to a company that I don't normally give props to, except for that I do like their food. In and Out was there feeding all of the test workers.
That's a beautiful
Had a
thing.
truck,
How
had a truck
nice.
there, and had a stand and was just feeding everybody. Now that being
That's
said,
rad.
I don't know if they're being paid for it or not. I imagine you can't take money from Core, right? You can't take money. In and Out can't take money away
Yeah.
from testing. I gotta give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just donating food, right?
I could see that. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, so it's very Wars of the Worlds because you drive up and you're like, you see the stadium and you're like, it's also a year that the Dodgers won the World Series too, and you're like,
Mhm.
man,
Mhm.
so many cars in there. So I drive up. They're like, they're like, go this way. There's cops directing you to drive, and I'm driving, trying to find the end of the testing line.
Yeah.
Erin, no lie, this line. I had an appointment at 11. I'm there at like 10:45. This line was 6 miles long.
Really? Because it snakes through the stadium parking lot?
Okay, so this line, no. The, I'm not talking about getting into the parking lot. I was talking about that earlier. I'm like when it was less busy. You
Yeah.
can't even get near those gates. 6 miles
Oh,
long.
wow.
I'm driving, trying to find the end of this line, going. And we're in Los Angeles right now. So, by the way, in Los Angeles is basically ground zero for COVID, right?
Yes. 1 in every 5 tests is positive.
One in every 5 tests is positive, and also it's actually a little over. It's 21%. So it's like 1 in 5.2. I don't know, right? But and they just said today that 1 in every 10 seconds someone was dying.
Every 15 minutes.
15 minutes, sorry.
Someone dies from
Way
COVID
off.
in LA County. 15 seconds is very grim.
Okay. So just to know what we're actually dealing with this with COVID, right? So, okay, so I go drive to end this line. I'm driving to the end of this testing line, and the line is so long, okay, that I get to a place where the road is too narrow to make a U-turn when I finally see the end, and the end of the line is underneath a bridge. So I have no choice but to just keep going, and I get on the highway going the wrong direction because I have no other way. It's actually impossible to get on the end of the testing line, okay? So I go, fuck it. I'm just not even going to get tested, even though I need this negative test to, like, comfortably move my life forward, okay?
Right.
What I do is I get on the highway, and my GPS reroutes me, and it loops me around. The point is that it takes me to a way where if you get in line, you cut the line by maybe 1/10 of the other line.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not cutting. I'm doing
legal?
it in a natural way.
Yeah.
There's just one other way to enter that only if you come from one specific direction.
Oh, so it's a separate entrance?
Yeah.
Into the parking lot, and so you can only access this entrance if you're coming off the freeway from that exit.
I would have no idea how I found this way again.
Life hacks.
I would have no idea because it was purely anyway. So we're talking about, like, you know, like, it's like I cut in this line. It's like it starts feeling like Lord of the fucking Flies over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Got my test. I'll wait for it. We'll see when the results come back.
Oh, because you still have to wait for them to text you.
Then I'll officially know I'm negative, even though I know I'm not contagious. Okay, but my doctor. So I go in there. He's like, "You're still coughing?" He's prescribed me an inhaler. I now have an inhaler.
You don't have asthma.
No.
You've never had asthma. Nothing like that.
No. So my point is, like, I'm just telling you, he's giving me an inhaler. He's like, yo, you don't need to necessarily use it because you're fine, but, like, I wouldn't mind you using this to, like, jumpstart your lungs here.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Jumpstart your lungs.
Because you're still coughing. He's like, you
right.
You still have the lingering cough, like where a lot of people don't at this point, or some people do. Anyway, I'm just telling you, I weighed 205 at the beginning when I got COVID. I now weigh 195. I've lost 10 pounds since starting this. I don't know, probably a bunch of that is muscle that I've lost.
I can tell. I can tell.
And so that's my update with COVID. Is that it's going well, but it is really confusing because I said to my doctor, I'm like, yo, all right, now I'm good. I want to start, like, working out again. I want to start getting out in the world. I'm like,
right.
What's the deal with reinfection? What do I got to worry about? And then I'm also like, yo, even though I'm kind of immune now, if I get some virus, I'm not going to show any symptoms. So does that make me kind of just like an asymptomatic carrier now, possibly? Right? And he basically was just like, yo, I don't fucking know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have no idea. God.
Yeah. You know I mean, I'm sure he's probably like, I have bigger fish to fry right now than answering these.
Right. Questions. Well, I think he's also just like, I honestly can't tell you. This virus is brand new. It's very strange. It's not acting like other viruses were. That's what he said. He's like, it's really strange is what he said.
Right.
This virus.
Right.
So I think, like, my virus is giving me my doctor's giving me an inhaler. Your doctor might think that you don't need an inhaler.
First he gave you a Z-Pack, which was pointless.
Questionable move.
Just
make me fucking shit my pants a couple times while I was already at temperature.
It really flushed you out. That might account for some of the weight loss, to be honest.
What, the Z-Pack?
The colon cleanse you received
via
Z-Pack. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, all right. So that's the update with my COVID. It's going well. It's just going. It's like, I don't know where you guys live, but, like, it's like to get tested here is not easy. As a matter of fact, the other thing that's going on with testing in LA is a metropolis. It's a confusing metropolis because if you ever see LA, it looks like if when you first moved to LA from New York City, if you did like from a real city,
Hmm.
like you look at it and you're like, yo, this is like the fucking suburbs. This is like the boonies. That's
Yeah.
how
Oh,
LA feels to me.
it's flat except for like this one tiny downtown.
But then when you live in LA long enough, you start realizing it is definitely a city. It is a major
100%.
fucking city. It's just makes no sense, the place. But the point is there's a lot of COVID testing lines that are like walk-ups because it's a city, so not everybody has a car, even though it's a very spread out city. Like, yo, I'm driving by these lines and I'm like, all right, so if people are in line, someone has COVID. Not to mention, you could just statistically say 1 in every 5 people on this line has COVID, right?
Right.
Everyone's like less than 6 feet apart. And you're
The
like,
lines are so long, and it's like,
so what's the point of like? I think LA is so dangerous at this point. It's so whatever. Like, I don't think testing has even a purpose anymore. You know?
I mean, just so you know,
Yeah.
like, so you'll
Right.
know and then not go out afterwards,
Right.
even
Like
though you've already been out and standing in line.
you know if you got COVID. Like when
Yeah.
I COVID, it was like everyone was like, "Yeah, this guy's got COVID." Like everyone knew. As a matter of fact, the only one who didn't bet that I had COVID, I think, on the cow pod was Newman, who was trying
Ah.
to kind of be a contrarian. I believe. I think you
Mm-hmm.
all thought I had COVID. I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so that's the COVID update. A lot more to discuss about COVID. As a matter of fact, we can get, but I think let's move off of COVID. We'll come back to
Okay.
it. We'll end the episode talking about this vaccine situation, the key things that are happening here. But today, I think the main story here, because this is 1/5/21, is the
Mm-hmm.
Georgia runoff election is today.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
I mean, here I am.
right. So, uh, so listen, I started to Google like what's the RGN question of the day for this Georgia election for
Mm-hmm.
me is Democrats have any shot to win this? Because look,
It's a
we
fair
know
question.
that Biden won Georgia, but like to me that means nothing. He's
Right.
he's running against Donald Trump, who a vote against Donald Trump means nothing to your party allegiance to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, not to mention Ossoff and Warnick. Is that his name? Warnick.
Mm-hmm.
Raphael Warnick, I believe is his name, right? John
Reverend,
Ossoff
right?
and Raphael Warnick. Reverend Raphael
Yeah,
Warnick.
Reverend.
Yeah. And who's the other
Warnock.
one? David Hyde Pierce and what's the no, it's who's the guy? The other guy? The Republican guy? I
David
forget his
Hyde
name.
Pierce. Oh, Jill, whatever her name is.
No. Who's the guy? The guy who's already in office. Prince. What's his name? The Georgia guy.
Oh,
And
I
then
don't
there's
know.
Jill
Loeffler.
Loeffler. I don't know what their names are. Kelly Loeffler. Is that her name? I forget her
Lori
name.
Laughlin.
Lori. Yeah, it's Lori Laughlin.
Laughlin. Mm-hmm.
Lori Laughlin. I
And
forget all these
there's-
people's names.
yep.
No, I think is it Prudence? What the fuck is this guy's name? Georgia. He's the current senator in Georgia, guys. Purdue is his name, right?
Purdue.
Yeah, his name's Purdue, and him and Loeffler or whatever, Lori Laughlin, they sold all their
Laughlin.
stocks
Yep.
when they found out about COVID. So that's just the kind of people they are.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've been Googling, do the Democrats have any chance? And
Mhm.
I would tell you, after looking at every single piece of information I've seen, the question is, the answer is I have no idea. Like that's the answer. Is
Yeah.
that like, and it seems to me no one knows. Like the fact that the ground game that Stacey Abrams has in
Mhm.
Georgia is
Oh,
real.
right.
Like what's it, fair fight? And
Yeah.
then that's real. And then also, like there's X factors here, which is Donald Trump's behavior
Yes.
is not. It's not helping them get reelected. The Georgia.
It's not
As a matter of
helping
fact,
the.
it's
I mean, I
spreading-
don't think it's helping. Well, according to him, it's not helping the Republicans because no one's going to want to turn out to vote.
Right.
But that's according to him. Like we don't really know.
See, that's where I call bullshit. You know, like I start like that's when it starts being like RGN when I'm like, this is like CNN bullshit spin. Okay, because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
and by the way, CNN is like my channel of choice of the cable channels.
Mm,
I say that just because I like it's the one where first off, it's like I can smell bullshit on my own people. So if
right,
you're
right.
saying more shit that I agree with, I can start being like, so like I text you all the time, Erin. Like I was watching Don Lemon show the other day, and I was just like, this
Yeah,
is a bad episode of news.
yeah.
It's like him just
This is
showing
not my
old
favorite
clips
app.
of Trump, and it's like,
Yeah,
yo, Trump lost the election, bro. Like, what's the news? What, like, tell me the news.
yeah.
And then he does a lot. Don Lemon does a lot of this. He shows you something, and then he's like
A
sitting it,
lot of that. A
sitting it,
lot of
people,
that.
like sitting it, and you're
Yeah.
like, yo, that we
That's like his
don't.
signature move though. Like he gives you that look.
He goes like this. He's
It's like Jim in the office.
he'll have like papers, and he'll just he's like, and he'll just go like like he like drops it, like just to be like, and I find it to be extremely unprofessional for news because it reeks of opinion, but it's not editorial where like Cuomo's like, hey, here's my opinion. Like I find Chris Cuomo will be like, this is my opinion on why this is bad. You know?
Right.
This guy's
Right.
just putting it out there, just being like, can you believe this? And you're like, no, just tell us. Like if you want to get your opinion, say it. We don't need to like tude. I don't need really like tude. I need facts. You
Right.
know? I need facts or opinions proven by facts, not tude. That's my
You don't
opinion.
need the two. You don't
That's
like it.
I don't like
Well,
it.
what about when he and Cuomo face off?
But I'll tell you what, Cuomo. I don't know why I'm defending Cuomo so much. I'm just saying they disagree a lot. Do you notice
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
kind of like their thing.
right. And then they say like they'll just go like, "I love you, D Lemon." And then he gets
Yeah, well, they're
Listen,
like,
it's charming. It
right,
is charming, but also I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't get worked by it. I know
right.
that. Well, the reason they're doing that is to keep viewers from changing the channel when one show's over, right?
Yeah, you got to get
And
the lead in.
and kayfabe as wrestling fans, we know like having your anchors be more characters,
Mm-hmm.
right, is
Yeah,
more profitable than having them just be strict news people. So
right, right, right.
CNN plays that game. My point is that I see through their bullshit. I'm able to decipher facts. What's confusing is like Fox News can be very confusing for me because I don't. There's two layers that I don't get. So you know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
You start being like adding in tude. You're adding in tude and frosting and fluff on top of Trump defending. Then I start being like,
That's
I
too
don't know
many
what's happening.
layers.
It's too
You
many
can't.
layers.
You
to
have
me.
to excavate the
Right.
news in there somewhere.
Okay. So the thing is that I really I don't understand. Like I'm calling bullshit on people. Know the average person knows that Trump's full of shit. Even Trump supporters, I think, know he's full of shit. I not all of them, not all of them. I'm saying a lot of them. Like we're talking about. I think there's
Yeah,
an actual small minority of people, especially if you're talking about the 75 million who voted for Trump.
right.
There's a
Oh
small
yeah,
minority
small
of people
minority.
who believe that he is a truthful guy. Like anyone I know who has voted for Trump is like, listen, I know he's a bad person. I know he's a
Right, right.
liar.
There's always an acceptance, and I think some people might even consider that a strength that he's willing to not overlook the truth.
So I just have a hard time a naivete about me, and I'm willing to be proven wrong, and I'm willing to be disagreed with, like of believing that most people think that their vote is not going to count. Like I don't think people are as cynical about the election system
Hmm, hmm.
as Trump wants you to think they are.
Right,
And
right, right.
polls show that like polls are kind of scary because it's only like 60% of people, but 60% of people think who voted for Trump think their vote counted. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not like this 1-to-1 of like he got 75 million people think the election's rigged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
75
I also believe that my friends who are Republicans are willing to put up with so much bullshit to support that party. You know what I mean?
That's
That
a lot.
like like any conversation I have with my friends who are like Republican are like, listen, man, I just do what's good for me. you know? And
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of
that,
that.
like, that's
And
why
it's
there's
just
such a
like,
winning party,
yeah.
Republicans, is
Well, and it's
because,
not, it's like they're just looking past it, right? Looking past
yeah, they
Trump's,
don't, I
yeah.
don't have friends who disagree with my points. No one's like, global warming's fake. No,
Yeah.
like, I don't have those people. And I think most people live in the center there. I think you could be a centrist and still hate like the Democrats. Like, that's like what my point is. Like, I think because it's almost like I see rational people who I might disagree with, but they have
Right.
rationale. And then I see extremists. And the extremist people are the people who are like, votes are being tossed in the fucking river, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
you know?
they're being shredded. Someone found votes on a riverbank. Then
Right.
they were all for Trump.
So here's the facts that we know about this Georgia runoff. We
Mm-hmm.
know that like something like 50 something percent of Georgia voters believe that their votes, that the election's going to run fairly, okay?
Yeah.
Of those polls. And we also know, this is what we know right now. This is, by the way, the polls just closed, I think. I think they closed at 7. Or they're
Right.
closing in like
Unless
15
15
minutes.
minutes. And if
Okay.
you're and people could still be on, because I saw footage of the lines, so there could still be like voting could go on
Right.
past 7 o'clock. As a former election worker, I know this. You have
Right.
to let everyone in.
You got, yeah. You got to,
Hmm.
yeah. So, all right. So, Erin.
So we can shred the ballots,
Yeah,
later.
right. Here, you eat them, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I think that, okay. So here's what stuff we do know. GOP turnout today is high. Okay, that we already
Yeah.
know, as
Yeah.
expected. We also know that early voting was
Mm-hmm.
very enthusiastic and very
Yep.
high, to the point where from the last figure I saw, and you might have seen a more recent figure because I saw this yesterday, Erin. But is that it was like something like uh 3-4 million votes. I think it was 4 million votes were already cast, and we had 5 million votes or something in the state of Georgia. My numbers might be off, but like it was basically like 75% of the early vote from the primary election was in
Yeah.
for this, which is a very high turnout for a runoff election. Normally, the
Right.
drop off is
Right.
extremely low. So
No
people,
shit.
we know that voters are still energized here. So that we know.
Yes. And I think they stayed energized, in particular in Georgia, because of all the drama with the presidential election, right?
Right. So here's the other stuff we know. We know that we know that what was I saying? Oh, we know that Georgia, the difference between Georgia and like a North Carolina. I was reading
Mm-hmm.
Nate Silver on what's it called? I always forget what it's
538.
called. Yeah, I always forget what it's called. We know that he had an article that was comparing North Carolina to Georgia, because
Okay.
North Carolina, Obama has won before. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have Georgia winning, and he's like, the difference between a Georgia and a North Carolina is that a lot more people in Georgia live in metropolises than North Carolina. So like what are the big cities in North Carolina? Like Charlotte and I don't know, Raleigh.
Asheville.
Like they don't have
Raleigh.
huge cities.
Yeah.
Like Georgia, where Atlanta is like massive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So a lot more
DeKalb County.
So their demographics in Georgia are shifting way more rapidly towards
Mm-hmm.
blue. You know?
Well, and Georgia and Phoenix, I think, are the two fastest growing metropolitan areas in the country right now. So
Right.
makes sense.
Right.
And like, Atlanta, it's like a mix of demographics too. It's not like it's a lot of different kinds of people there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I'm just gonna give I'm just gonna give my opinion, my guess on this election, and
Okay.
Erin, you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
Is what I think's gonna happen here, and we'll report on it when we come back next time. But I think if I have to go with my gut, I think that the Republicans will win both seats, and the reason I think that is because I think people like checks and balances. Like I think that like people are like, all right, Biden's coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and they like the fact that the Republicans will keep them in check. Now, I disagree with that because I think if anything, it's like one party has to be in total charge or the other in modern politics because of how split they are and they can't get anything done, which is just proven time and time again. So I think that, but I just think that it's going to be really close, but both seats go red. That's what I think.
That's interesting, Dan. I read a prerequisite one article before signing on here, and people were being interviewed as they left the polls. And my source is the New York
Yeah, a
Times, so
singular source.
take it or leave it. But
The failing New York Times.
The failing New York fake news. But people were saying that they
Failing New York
voted.
Times. Seems like they've outlasted Trump.
Yeah.
Like.
Surprise. I know it's shocking. But I think people were voting. The people they spoke to said like they voted Democratic down the ticket, and they talked to people who were Republicans and they gave their justifications, and they were saying, well, people were saying the opposite of what you did. They said that we want to see progress and have things change, and we know that things won't change and nothing's going to happen if these seats don't flip to blue. So I don't know what's going to happen, but based on the couple people who I read about, who they interviewed, I was feeling a little optimistic. So
either outcome won't surprise me is what's going on now. Like that's
and I also think that Georgia voters, because Georgia's been like Trump's focus for so many weeks, and like he's given so much shit to like the Secretary of State there who's supposed to be his boy, the governor he's talked shit about, like, he did that with Michigan, and Michigan was a blue state, so it could happen.
All right, well, we'll see what happens going forward. It's gonna be interesting. I really could see it going either way, because I could see people just being like, well, listen, why don't we just give Biden the full chance to prove himself? Because if Biden, I believe this, if Biden wins, if they win these two seats, I do believe Biden will enact changes that he'll be looked upon as like the FDR of COVID.
He definitely has a chance.
Because if he could do the stuff he wants to do, which is just logically care about this and not think short term just to win an election, which is what Trump did, and he has 4 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's 2 years, because the Senate will be up for votes in 2 years. But he has like these 2 years of Democratic majority in all three houses. I think that would be. I think that he'll be able to enact enough to get, because my top priority is COVID. And I'm like, let's just get this under control and saying all the right shit. So I think he'll be able to get it done. Like, this is America. I believe that we can. This is Biden talking.
Yeah. Well, and I'm listening to Barack Obama's audiobook right now, and he talks a lot about how in his first 2 years, they rushed to get as much done as they could while they had this opportunity. So Biden knows what the deal is. So maybe he'll try to pull the same thing if he can.
Like, our system working correctly right now, or working would be if Biden gets 2 years to enact what he thinks is right, and then if you don't like it, you change it, give the House and the Senate back to the back red. Like, that's the beauty of the system. But right now with COVID, I feel like we need to give someone ultimate power. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, there's that. So the last thing we'll say about Georgia here is let's talk about. See, I get like these coughing fits.
This is COVID live.
Yeah, COVID live, baby.
COVID live.
Live Aid. All right.
What other podcast is being hosted by someone who had and is suffering from COVID-19 live on air? Okay.
I'm sure there is one, but a lot of people don't have the cough like I do. I've been blessed. So, the big news of the day, of the hour, and by the way, why we don't lead with that, we're leading with this actual election, is Donald Trump's phone call to the Georgia Secretary of State, which, by the way, was recorded, according to my dad, who's not really a good source, but is a news. He's not a good source, but is a news guy. He's pretty keyed in, and is a great regurgitator of news, like I am.
Oh yeah.
And he's saying that they recorded the call because last time they didn't record the call with Trump, and then he lied about everything that was said. So they
Oh, well,
recorded
yeah.
it.
Well, good
But
call.
I haven't heard that, But
Hmm.
anyway. So, look, Donald Trump had a 1 hour phone call with his attorneys, with the Georgia Secretary of State and the other guy who's the other counter of votes, Gabriel Sterling. Is that his name? The voting system implementation manager. Maybe he was on the call. I don't remember who's exactly on the call. I know that Brad Raffensperger, who's the Secretary
Hmm.
of State of Georgia, was on the call. Who is a Republican, mind you.
Yes.
And I listened to the full 1 hour call. I sat there and listened to the whole thing because I'm just like have a sickness. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just
Yeah.
do listen to it.
I
Uh,
didn't listen to the full 64 minutes, but I listened to the last 16 and I skipped through the first 44.
so look, we can debunk everything Trump said in there. I have it all here, but it's like almost pointless. But I will run through it really quick. But the more
Hmm.
interesting thing is to just talk about Donald Trump, the man. You know,
Mm.
and the tactics he was using in this phone call, which was mainly it, the the news was spinning it that it was like very mafioso, which I would say it was, but like it didn't totally read like that to me because it was more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
To me, it was sadder than that. Like this
Yeah.
phone call was truly a like floundering failure. This is like last ditch
Yeah.
fucking. It's like a Hail Mary when you don't even have a receiver. Like you know what I mean? Like it's a Hail
Right,
Mary where
right,
you're
right.
just throwing the ball, like praying to God that like maybe
Maybe.
some kind of divine intervention makes a player appear in your favor, but you're on a team of
Right.
one. You know what I mean?
11,000 of players appear.
It's like the thing that we should really be focusing on right now is that this is 1 hour of your president's time. This is what he's doing,
Right.
which is, by the way, is taking elected officials away from their jobs. So, mind you, there's the times where he's just on the golf course playing golf and whatever.
Right.
Then there's this where he's using taxpayers' money and time. Right, like I worked in accounting. Like every hour, it's like billable hours. Like your
Yeah.
time is money, right? Like that's the same shit here, especially with government officials who clock out at 5 p.m. a lot of times. It's like
Hmm.
this is what he's using as 1 hour. This is an example of what Trump does with his time for an hour. Like
Right.
that to me is like the key thing to think about. Is like we're in the middle of this pandemic. If he cared about Los Angeles helping us out, right? Which we know he doesn't because we don't vote for him. Uh, right? You're like,
Yeah.
there's so many uses for his time and his resources, like which are ample. That this is what he's using with his time. Like that, it's like just pathetic. It's downright pathetic,
Yeah.
and it's irrefutably pathetic. Like no one can defend it at this point. It's like it's just so flagrant. You know?
Yeah, I know. Well, it's his time. He's wasting other people's time. And he hasn't given any time to this like COVID thing. That's really the main issue. He doesn't give a shit. All he cares about is
I don't
this
know what.
election
Right,
that's.
but there's so he's on the phone. So here's one of his main tactics. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like people were like, oh, it's mafioso, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Is like this is not mafioso. What it is it's actually like weak sauce. Like it's weak, flailing, uh, uh, uh,
Weeks.
uh, like it's actually like
Best
toxic
way to describe it.
masculinity.
Yeah.
What he was doing is that he speaks a million miles a minute. Like
Oh, I
he's like
know.
throwing out facts. Lets no one speak, right?
Yeah.
And tells you how to feel, right? Tells you what to
Yeah.
think, but knows it's not working. So just keeps going because
Doubles
he's
down.
too scared to hear the response, which he knows is, "You're wrong. This call is pointless."
Yeah,
He's
well, I
won't
mean,
stop.
he did hear that, but he refuses to acknowledge it or anything. And he just has no Like his claims are so baseless.
So Donald Trump didn't record this. This was recorded on the other end.
Yes. Yes.
So my point is that the only argument for this is that he wants this for the pageantry to be like, can you believe this call where they didn't even hear my truths? But he
Right.
wasn't even recording it. So it's just to fucking like pepper up the lines and jam up the works, like burn it
Yeah.
down, you know? So it's
Yeah.
like he literally is just like, there's this. You hear all these votes, this many people, this, and then these kudos to this, the Georgia Secretary of State and the other guy, because they were literally just every time your facts are incorrect.
Yeah, the information you
had
have is
Mr.
wrong.
Oh my god, they were so fucking like reserved and professional. Like these guys
Of
were
course.
amazing on there. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, because you know the other thing is not being discussed is like Donald Trump treats it like, yo, you're a Republican, you're on my side.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys have been working overtime and shit because he sues them constantly.
Yeah.
They're dealing with his lawsuits. So he like attacks you at the same time when he's like trying to be like, you're a Republican, I'm a Republican, you know? But then
Right.
also he's threatening you. Like the layers of what's going on in this is just like ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, if you don't have to listen to it because you shouldn't give Trump
You really don't. And plus, like, if you just turn on the news, you'll hear all the most pertinent clips over and over again.
No, you don't have to listen to this. The only thing you could do with this is like, if someone is like in your family is like an adamant Trump supporter,
Yeah.
still like maybe be like, hey, why don't you listen to this? Because it's just like so stupid. Okay, so here's like all the claims Trump is saying. So his logic on this call was, yo, hey, look how many votes I can prove that we won in Georgia.
Mhm.
Mind you, he also needs 3 other states to be overturned also. So like this is the most flailing effort you've ever seen in your life.
I know. What
It's
he's like so obsessed with Georgia. Maybe because he really can't believe, like, of all the states, that's the one that he lost.
I know, you know, it's like that. This is why Trump gets so much time, like in our brains, is because he's so irrational that like you're like can't figure him out. So I've said he's like a puzzle that you can't solve. So because you're trying to solve it, you're like you want it would make you comfortable to solve it. It's like why like you know it's the same reason you want like why people go to prison who didn't do stuff. Like everyone will feel more comfortable if they think the person who went to
Right.
jail
Case closed.
and then they get like exonerated by DNA, and you're like everyone just wanted to like go back to life as normal, so they're like, all right, well that pedophile's in jail, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And you're like, but there was no evidence, and you're like, whatever, but I could sleep at night better, and people just don't want to deal with shit.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I don't know. Okay, so he's like, yo, I won 100,000 blah 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 votes. So all I'm asking is like, let's just find this 11,000 so that like we can, because it's like, look how many there are. Like I don't want, and he's like, I don't want to go to court, but like what he's saying is like everything's being thrown out. Like it's a charade. It is like I don't know what it's doing, but do you? I guess my question to you is, so here's his claims. They're all refuted, but you know, so dead people voted something like 5,000. They said only 2 dead people voted in the whole state. He said there was all these ballots in a box that was not officially sealed, and they're saying that's not true. There was like this water main break he kept talking about at one. You know what I'm saying? Like we're talking about what he's saying. He's like, yo,
right.
They ran out because of a water main break, and there was no water main. There was nothing. There was no break. Okay, he's referring to a pause in counting at the election in Fulton County. Officers issued a statement saying a water leak had affected a room where absentee ballots were being tabulated. An official investigation later clarified what was initially reported as a water leak was actually a urinal that had overflowed. The report said this had not affected the counting of votes.
I mean, it just goes to show you how little he like actually reads. So like the guy tried to say like, you know, a lot of this is social media. He's like, no, it's not.
Right. He said,
so stupid.
He said there were no Republican poll watchers. Actually, there were no Democratic poll watchers. This is true, but the official investigating found they had been neither asked to leave nor prevented from returning. Nobody gave them any advice on what they should do. It was still open for them or the public to come back into view whatever time they wanted. So, like, it sounds like people bounced because this urinal overflowed and then they didn't come back.
We're like, I don't feel like dealing with this anymore.
How many votes was he talking about for the urinal? He didn't even say. That
He
one
had,
is like,
he doesn't know.
you had out of state voters. They voted in Georgia, but they were from out of state. 4,925. Oh my God! So that's one of the funniest parts of the phone call that no one's playing. By the way,
Which one is it?
I'm saying, do we have the? I'll tell you. Let me see if I have the actual quote, or I'll just paraphrase it. Are all people live in Georgia move to a different state? They move to millions. Sweet. Yeah, okay. So he's trying to say that there's like fake people who like move to Georgia and then move back to their state, just to like mess with the election.
Right. So
and
many
he was
people.
just like doing this whole thing where he's like, yeah, people, they move there, then they move back. It's like, it just doesn't sound like what people do. Like it's this whole thing. Like he's like, and they're like, he's like, and then the guy's like, yes, we looked into that. This guy Ryan Germany was his name. He's a
Ryan.
lawyer representing.
He's the lawyer.
He's the lawyer for Georgia. Yeah. And he was like, so he was saying that these people lived in Georgia, they moved, and then they came back, and Trump was acting like these people jumped the border and moved for a day and then left. He's like,
changed their address.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, these are people who left, came back. Like, we're talking about over years and years.
Right.
Like, we're talking about people who went to college in another state and then came back to where they live, which is very common. You know what I'm saying? Or they got divorced or something and then came back, which is very possible. You know what I mean?
Or like if you lived out of state for a year, but you like, oh, I haven't renewed my driver's license yet or whatever. Like, it's pretty simple.
He said they're shredding ballots, and you should look at that very carefully because that's so illegal.
It's so illegal. You have no idea how illegal it is.
The president mentioned what he said is that the alleged shredding of thousands of corrupt ballot papers, implying that evidence of what he believes was voting malpractice, has been deliberately destroyed. In November, some social media posts claimed to show shredding companies destroying what were said to be ballot papers. An investigation into the papers of Georgia's Cobb County concluded it was part of a routine cleanup operation. The document says disposed of were not actual votes. These were old mailing labels and other papers with voter information, old emails, and duplicate absentee ballot forms. Okay, we have
that all adds up.
And then there's this big thing about Dominion voting systems.
Oh, here we go with Dominion.
We've not gone through your Dominion voting machine, so we can't give them blessings. I mean, in other states, we think we found tremendous corruption with Dominion machines. The president has made various allegations about widespread electronic voting fraud in several swing states. He claims that the Dominion voting systems, which are widely used across the U.S., included in Georgia, led to millions of Trump votes being flipped to his rival, Joe Biden. But there's no evidence of this in Georgia or anywhere else. Several lawsuits regarding the claims have been rejected by courts. Dominion voting systems denied their machines were in any way compromised. The allegations are widely covered by right-wing U.S. news networks, but Fox News and Newsmax had since had to issue corrections stating that there's no evidence that the machines manipulated in the elections. Yeah.
Wow. If Newsmax is going along with that.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. So anyway, the point is that he has this call. He just wants to find the votes. To be honest, they were treating this like this was a mafioso call. But if you hear it, it's less mafioso. It's more flailing. And to be honest, it's so sad and like pathetic. And no one feels bullied. Like no one is threatened by Trump.
No, it's so funny. Yeah, like when you see that guy Gabe like standing at the podium, basically, because they went through on MSNBC and played a clip and then shared his fact checking. He doesn't seem very shaken by it or intimidated or anywhere close to like buckling to the will of the president. So stupid.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
I love that guy.
I'm giving shit to like the left-wing news sources who are acting like this is like real mafioso shit. They are right that it is because
he
it's
wishes
like completely
it was
irresponsible. But it's so much sadder than that when you hear it.
Yeah. Trump wishes.
Yeah, he did have he was towing the line of Like, if you hear it, there's a couple lines where he's clearly like wants to go to this next level of
Yeah.
threats,
Oh,
but
yeah.
he knows
Yeah.
not to go there. Like he knows where the
Yeah.
line is legally, but he wants to be like, if you don't do this, you're fucked. You don't like. He knows not to do
Right.
it. So it's
Right.
really that's the
It's
thing
always
about it.
like, you never know. It might be really bad for you.
Yeah, he's like people. I don't know if you know this. You're allowing it to happen, but people are very angry. And you're like,
Yeah,
uh,
you and your governor and
I don't know. I mean, maybe I am fucking naive, and I do live in L.A. COVID bubble. But
yeah.
I don't think Trump has the power that the Republicans act like he does have. Like, now he does right now. He's still the president of the United
Right.
States for like
Yeah.
2 weeks or whatever. But like after that, I don't think that the Trump name is going to be like so fucking powerful going forward.
No,
It,
it's a joke.
yeah, I don't know, but like
And those
whatever.
people are a joke.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know.
Mm.
All right, Erin.
Yeah.
I want to talk about stuff that's actually useful for the people
Oh,
out there.
okay. Okay.
And I want to talk about the COVID vaccine, which is like moving at anything but warp speed. It seems like
Operation pretty slow.
yeah, Operation Turtle,
Yeah.
turtle speed. So like, yo,
Yeah.
this COVID vaccine is it's we've talked about this. It's a mess, but let's see what's going on with it now. So, here, this headline here that I found. This is from USA Today. They're saying COVID-19 vaccine doses have been delivered but are sitting on pharmacy shelves. Longer delays
I
could
heard that.
prolong the pandemic. So I heard of a thing that right now, since they're having trouble giving out, that like the directive is to like, if people don't show up for their appointments, they're literally like, I read this article about, it looked legit too. It was a dude who was in a pharmacy, and they were like, hey, do you want the COVID vaccine 19? The COVID-19 vaccine? Like, we have 2 more doses left, and the 2 guys got it who were walking to the pharmacy because they're like, it's already defrosted, and you can't freeze it again. And the
Yeah.
nurses didn't show up. It was like frontline workers who didn't show up to get it.
Yeah, I heard that too. There was a situation where a freezer went kaput
Right.
and they had 600 doses that they had to administer in like a couple hours. So I don't know. I didn't read the actual article, just the headline, but they had to administer all these doses to whoever, I guess.
Right.
That's
So,
crazy.
anyway.
I'd love to be in that pharmacy.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because it's like, I talked to my dad today, and my parents have signed up to get the vaccine. Because they're in the
They're in the age group.
they're in the age group, and my mom's
So how
also
did-
an administrator.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It's like he was.
Is
My
that
dad was
just
like,
a
my dad was
New
like, I
York
don't know.
thing?
They gave us a date for it. Like I
Huh.
think it's just like a New York thing. Who knows?
Cool.
But who fucking knows if they'll even have the vaccine? Like if they'll
Yeah.
even have it there. So anyway, if the pace of the COVID-19 vaccine delivery into people's arms stays the way it has been for the past few weeks, it could take years rather than months to vaccinate Americans, and the outbreak will continue to dominate. Federal officials overestimated the speed at which vaccines could be given, making delivery a disappointment in an otherwise successful vaccine development effort. Doses have been distributed behind the government's initial schedule, 15 million instead of the 20 million doses promised to be delivered by the end of 2020. About 70% of those doses are sitting on pharmacy shelves, according to government data, and only about 14% of doses destined for nursing home residents and caregivers have been injected. Although the vaccine is off to a rough start, it's not too late to turn the decision around, according to Kelly Moore, Deputy Director of the Immunization Action Coalition, Education and Advocacy Group. A fucking lobby group. But to do so will require a host of improvements, including more money, additional staffing, and greater experience with vaccines that have been shown to be safe and effective, but not so easy to use. Right, because you're hearing about doses going bad and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So about 200,000 doses a day are being given. Anthony Fauci said vaccinators should soon be able to deliver 1 million a day. I mean, 1 million, that sounds like a good number. We're at
Yeah.
200,000. 1 million sounds good.
That would put us on track to be all vaccinated in the next like year and a half.
So what they're saying is there are a lot of this is Moore, who's the director of that group, said there's a lot of aspirational goals set by federal officials about how many vaccines could be delivered and how quickly. The delivery of a box of vaccine to a clinic door is the easiest part of the process. So, all right, says Chicago has delivered 95% of the vaccine it's received, but the current rate of delivery would take a year and a half to vaccinate the city's residents.
Oh my God.
Right. So, this is Mayor Lori Lightfoot. That's the mayor of Chicago. She's been a very outspoken Trump. She basically, to be honest, Trump just attacks Chicago anytime he has a.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah. She said the rate's unacceptable. The federal government must 100% step it up. So it says Chicago, I don't know. This stuff I find really interesting, especially like local stuff. So it's like Chicago has built infrastructure to deliver the vaccine, but needs more doses. The federal government needs to do a better job at protecting American lives from this virus. Operation Warp Speed, tasked with developing and delivering COVID-19 vaccines, promised to vaccinate 20 million Americans in December. 3 weeks after shipping began, the program has distributed 15 million doses to hospitals and nursing home providers, but only 4.5 million people have gotten the first of the 2-shot regimen. That means 30% of available doses have been used. It's really bad.
That's crazy.
They were supposed to vaccinate 20 million Americans, okay? But instead they only distributed 15 million doses, which is already 5 million less.
Right.
And we've only actually vaccinated 4.5 million. So what it's saying is that the biggest part of the problem here is vaccinations, not vaccines. Because the vaccinations are not happening. We don't have good infrastructure, like systems for it.
Right.
Among nursing home residents and caregivers, 365,000 shots have been delivered out of the 2.5 million distributed, a 14% usage rate in nursing homes. So they already have 2.5 million vaccines in nursing homes, but only 365,000 shots have been delivered. You don't have the system. So you remember Trump was like, "Oh, we have the military; they're gonna deliver the military." Like, I don't hear shit about the military. Do you?
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's just bad because it's like being done in piecemeal, right? It's not like we have this centralized system where it's like, hey, line up, we'll call you or whatever, and this is where you go to get it. It's like, do you get it at work? Do they come to you?
Right. Like they're saying that there's always bugs when you translate from paper to practice. And this is more from that group. Federal plans didn't give enough consideration to the need for scheduling and organizing clinics, educating patients and caregivers, and resolving the small problems that crop up. Like, there's been no actual planning for the delivery. It's just been about having the vaccine, you know? Yeah. Let's see what other information's good. So, okay, so the protocols for this vaccine are different from those for the seasonal flu vaccine, for which a nurse can wheel a cart through hospital hallways delivering shot after shot.
Yeah.
People who receive a COVID-19 vaccine have to be watched for 15 minutes to ensure they don't have an allergic reaction. This requires hospitals to set aside space and personnel, both of which are at a premium. I've never fucking heard that. How much news have I watched? You've heard that?
I've never heard that before.
So that you need 15 minutes. So this is like, it's math. You need 15 minutes for everybody.
So you have to sit,
the
you get
timing
it, and
of
then
this
you
is
sit
really
and chill.
important. Right. This process is further slowed as caregivers have to think about who should or who shouldn't be vaccinated. All those things are just part of the not unexpected challenges we face in implementing such a complex program with a new vaccine based on a new platform in the midst of the height of the pandemic, with exhausted healthcare workers who are at the end of their rope after all the work they've been doing for the past year.
Yeah.
By the time there's enough vaccine to distribute outside hospitals and other care facilities to the broader community, vaccinators will have worked out some of the kinks in the system. It may get easier to vaccinate large numbers of people when shots can be delivered at neighborhood pharmacies. CVS is ready to deliver vaccine at all of 10,000 of its pharmacies and nationwide, and expects to be able to give 20 million to 25 million doses a month once given enough vaccine.
So you'll be able to go to your local CVS and just pop in and get it for free.
Wow. Yeah. So, yeah. Wow. This is crazy. So yeah, it looks like. All right. So if I did, let me just RGN this. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like my guess is we'll get this shit worked out, right? Because it's like the biggest priority. We'll get this. It'll go. The problem is like, you know, the here's my RGN take on all this. If I was on the air, what I'd say is this: everybody, this vaccine, Biden's going to come in. He's going to work this out because the guy's not a fucking moron like the other guy, right? So whether you like Biden or not, or you don't like that he's got a super PAC, blah blah blah. Listen, can we all logically agree with each other that his goal is to get vaccines in people's arms? If you don't think that, you're like a moron. Like, come on. Like, you know what I mean? This is Joe Biden. We've seen his behavior.
And the bar is so low from Trump, who's literally doing nothing.
And also, if you think about him as just a selfish politician, he has everything to gain by nailing this. Right?
Yeah. That's
so, true. Right? So, okay. So we can assume that. What I would tell the people is, yo, your vulnerable family members, encourage them to keep taking this seriously because they will get this vaccine. This will get corrected. This will ramp up. My guess is in the next 2 to 3 months, like, this is going to be like, yep, it's ramped up, it's sped up. Biden will enact the Defense Production Act, and we'll be going faster than ever. Big private companies getting all this shit done. That's my guess. We already see CVS. CVS is already stepping up. But that's what's going to happen. This country, we have to rely on private industry. This just is what it is because we don't have a good centralized healthcare system. Okay, that's what's going to happen. But you cannot get lazy if you are fucking immunocompromised, and you cannot be lazy for people you live with. If you live with grandma, you cannot get lazy in the next 6 months. Like, you have to keep protecting yourself and protecting others. The other thing that I'm thinking about is like, if you have antibodies, what that actually means. You know what I mean? And if there's ways that we could start helping each other. Like, right now, I have antibodies, so I was like, hey, maybe I could like deliver shit for people. Like, I could like, hey, like, if you don't have it, if I know I have 2 months of immunity, maybe I grocery shop for you. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. Like, there's things we can implement. But then my brain is just like, are we capable as an American society of that? No, right?
No.
There's no fucking local. That shit doesn't exist, right? Like, local. I guess if you don't live in like a city like we do, that's out the window.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely things on like a micro level that you could do as a person who's willing to do it, but there's nothing that society would all go for like that.
Whew. Interesting time. So that's my takeaway here is that, so if we go through the issues of the day here, Erin,
okay.
This Georgia race, it's right now it's gonna be close. I'm gonna predict that both Republicans take it. I do hope I'm wrong because my goal is for Joe Biden to have an unencumbered first 2 years where he can see what he does. If it's no good, then you get rid of him, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone can agree that 2 years of Joe Biden is not going to tank this. Joe Biden with a Senate and a House is not going to tank this nation. You know, we can all agree. Democrats, Republicans alike. I don't know any of my Republican friends who would say Biden's going to ruin this place.
He's going to ruin it after we just suffered through Trump for 4 years.
Right. And then the vaccine situation, I think my guess is going to get worked out. We can mark it now in the next. I think it's going to get worked out because people are going to work their asses off on it. But fuck, it's going to be it's going to be a rough next couple of months. Rough with the COVID. Rough.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, I just want to chime in here and say that it's currently 7:26 p.m. on the East Coast, and we have some of the first returns from the Georgia race.
Oh, well, let's end the pod on that. Let's get
so this is where we'll end it, and we'll have the full results next week. But as of right now, An estimated 5% of the votes are in.
Wow. This is
Ossoff,
huge.
yeah, Ossoff leads with 68.6% of the vote. And Warnock leads with 69.2% of the vote. So at this time, 5% of the vote is in.
That just means the Democratic counties are in, right?
Democratic counties, and I'm not sure what their system is with counting the mail-in ballots, because as we know, the Dems love to vote by mail. So
Well, I would have said let's record this pod later when we have the results of this, but it sounds like it's going to take a couple days.
Yeah.
It's probably going to take a couple days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Erin, I think
wow, I'm getting live results here.
Anything else? What do we got?
I mean, the margins are narrowing a little bit. It's gone down to 67% for both blue candidates in the last minute.
Yeah.
So things are changing.
Well,
I love election night in America, you guys.
Everyone loves it, folks. But the thing is like what I think is that like if it starts the way that the Democrats talk, like the Democrat like CNN talks about like Trump's involvement. It's like the Republicans always just call bullshit. Like every time they're like, "Oh, can you like Ted Cruz is going to take a big it's going to take a big political hit on him if he pushes against this against if he challenges the votes of Georgia,
right.
If he does that, it's like and if you connect yourself to Trump, you go down. It's like I don't know. I don't really know if there's a big political price to pay for this stuff. Like, I kind of think that, like, the Republicans, what they seem to be plugged into is that, like, there's, there's not a lot of people are not paying that close attention.
Right.
A lot of people are voting for abortion and guns. And, like, you know what I mean? I like on both sides, people are not really like people just don't. They have very short-term memories. I don't know if like
that's
you
true.
attach stuff, and then in this society, it's like someone like, I mean, look at Fox News, and then look at not even Fox News, like Chris Christie, who has like a really like shady scandal connected to him. He's on MSNBC. He's on NBC News. Like, he's got a nice career going for himself. Like, not to mention what goes on Fox News, where it's like Bernie Kerik, Rudy Giuliani.
Mark
These guys
Furman.
are all like literally criminals. Yeah, so like that's like a joke. They got that ex wrestler on there. They used to have Ultimate Warrior when he was literally changed his name legally to Warrior. He would be on a Fox News correspondent. They would have what's his name? Clay. With the pterodactyls, the dancedactyls or whatever. That guy's on there all the time. It's a joke. So they don't care. There seems to be not a lot of consequence.
Well, even with like, there's no consequence. I mean, there's a record of a lot of these things. Like Ted Cruz has he's on tape saying stuff about Trump. His Twitter.
Oh yeah,
just no one cares.
Trump's wife. Trump called Ted Cruz's wife like disgusting or something.
Yeah.
She's ugly.
And like talked shit about his dad. Like all this stuff is on record, but they have so few scruples that the Republicans, like, who cares?
They know it doesn't matter, and then the Democrats get caught up in thinking people actually have a moral compass, and it's like they don't. It's not that they don't. It's just that people have short-term memories for that shit.
Yeah, I know.
And then like the reasons they vote is more guttural. It's more gut-based than anything, or it's more like single issue than anything. So I kind of think it like doesn't ever really matter as much.
Well,
anyway, I don't know. That's my opinion. I mean, I think going forward, I do think this stuff could change. I think anything after COVID, anything's off the table. Like the amount of like bullshit that this virus is like shown on our
Imagine
society.
if COVID never happened.
The thing with COVID is that it's taken really like a lot of like, for me, it's taken kind of like 9 months or so or whatever to really like fuck my life up. Not like fuck my life, but that's a little harsh, but like to really, there's a lot of stuff that has happened in my life that I think about, that like relationships in my life that have like friendships and stuff where you're like, oh, like it's kind of crazy, like how it, to the small detail, how it's affected, shine a light on stuff. You know,
Right.
you're like,
Right.
oh, like you have some like I had COVID. It's like, hey, I had friends who didn't check up on me when I had COVID. You're like, ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
COVID, you know? But like, I'm
Right.
not mad or anything, but you're like, would I ever think that I would catch like this, like, you know what I mean? I'd be in a pandemic and we would all be, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just like a small example. You're like,
100%.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
And
there's
then
all
there's,
sorts of like new shit that we're like talking about and dealing with that like were never
yeah, and
on the
I
table
like
before.
I need like the government to help me with something I told you about with like my CPA
Yeah.
license, and they're
Yeah.
going like slow and it's messing with some stuff in my life, and you're like, it's all COVID related.
I mean,
It's
even the
crazy.
mail, like
Yeah.
Christmas gifts
Oh,
are
the
still
mail.
not like
Yeah, I had tons of stuff I lost in the mail, and I've been like, Yeah, you're right. Like everything's just like new. It's just like uncharted in this way.
yeah.
It's like it is interesting. So you're like, I don't. So like my point is that like where I kind of have like where I underestimate voters, I think, in a way, because I'm coming from old parameters where people are less engaged and people
Mhm.
are less aware of stuff. And I think I would not be surprised if stuff matters more now, like scandals stick more,
Yeah.
and like shit sticks more to these people because people are fed up with the bullshit. Whereas before this, people were just like, uh, um, they were like cynical and checked out. You know, like being like, whatever, I can't affect these people. I just don't rely on the government or whatever. And now people are
Right.
like, no, I want a government that's clean, that's working for us.
Yeah.
And so we've never been so engaged in this way that maybe that'll change a lot going forward. I do think the stuff that's really going to stick going forward in society is I think people are way more aware of racial divides as it pertains to voting, you know?
Mhm.
And like that I think give major most credit to like someone like Stacey Abrams, you know? Like because like when I was reading about that Nate Silver article, he was talking about North Carolina, which you're like if you look at the way the votes go down there, they're literally like separated by racial divides. Like it is like the gerrymandering in that state is like
So
outrageous.
precise, like
Yeah,
yeah.
that it's like it's just racist lines, you know.
Mhm.
And I just don't think you come back like with George Floyd and how engaged people are. I do think more and more there people are going to be active about that level of inequality because that inequality will constantly be thrown in people's faces when you start seeing who's really getting this vaccine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as you see, if schools are going to continue to be closed, whose schools are closed? Who has broadband internet? Like, you know, a lot of the
Yeah.
inequalities of our society are being, are gonna be in our face in a way that they're kind of were hidden in a way before. So, you know, all that to be said, my whole thing is like I would like a nice socialized healthcare system.
Would be great, wouldn't it?
That's where I want to start. Like I want to start with a nice like healthcare is just the one thing. It's just like yo, we have divides in society, but I have a hard time seeing anybody. We all can agree that this healthcare system is not working for anybody,
Right.
not either side of the aisle. Because I know rich people with really good insurance, they're not happy with how healthcare works. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, my brother. I was talking to my brother. He had to go to the hospital for something, and he's fine, but he had to go to the hospital for something. This was a while back, and he, uh, like, he had to. They were like, "All right, we're gonna do this test," and he's in a hospital bed, and he's like, "Wait, come back. What's this test? What does it cost? Like, is that
Yeah.
this?" You know? And then he turned
It's
it
like
down
being
because
read
it
the
wasn't covered.
specials at a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
need to know.
Like I went to the dentist. I have dental insurance, right? Dental
Mhm.
insurance is the whole thing. And they were like, "Do you want us to screen you for cancer?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I guess." I mean, why would I say that? Then I see my bill, $75 cancer screening. It's like, oh, it was a fucking appetizer.
An add-on, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're
They
like,
upsold you.
come on, like, come on. This is like, come
Yeah.
on. We don't need to we don't need capitalism injected into our fucking dental visits. You
I
know.
know. I know.
Uh anyway, Aaron, I think we did it. I think we said too much.
I
Any
think we
last
yeah.
update on the election? Anything in?
Oh, let me see where the numbers are at right now, Dan. Let's see. We are at 7%. Both Oh, wow. Things are narrowing quite quickly, Dan.
Yeah.
Ossoff is at 58.1%,
Wow.
and
Wow.
Warnock is at 59.2%.
The
So, I
people
mean,
are speaking.
that's wow. We got 92% left to go.
Wow.
hmm
All right. Well,
People are talking.
talking
People
about
are
people.
voting.
All right,
voting
Erin,
for people.
let's get out of here. When we come
All
back,
right.
we'll know what the Senate looks like. We'll be 1 week closer to Donald Trump becoming, I don't know what, a fucking, what is he? I don't know.
Felon?
A president? Who knows? Yeah, he's gonna go back to Mar-a-Lago, do some more construction. He's been not happy with how it's going. And and we'll see you this charade, which we didn't really talk about this week, and I'm fine with it, is that there are also like 12 senators who are gonna like reject it. It's
well, we'll
nothing.
see. That's tomorrow.
Yeah, there's 0% chance that does anything, so who cares? We don't need attention. Anyway,
Yeah.
Erin, thanks for everybody
Dan.
coming by. Remember,
All right,
everybody,
well,
give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about the show. And everybody, remember, RGN, remember Regular Guy News, to stay regular.